Hey, you guys, it's an honor to be a part of this journey with you. Keep going, you're doing great. Now we want to move into what HTML classes and IDs are. These are the building blocks for how you structure your HTML code, so then you can actually reference specific HTML in your CSS. This is essential for building websites that are maintainable, that are easy to work with. If another developer comes along and takes over your code in the future, they can easily just jump right in and do it. So this is exciting stuff. I've been a part of websites. I've taken over websites other people have done. I've made stuff that's really sloppy in the past. And it takes time and effort in doing things poorly sometimes to learn how to do them efficiently and cleanly. So it's okay, but the goal of using classes and IDs is to clearly reference and select different HTML with your CSS or your JavaScript or PHP or other languages and frameworks and libraries and all that other stuff. But right now we're just talking HTML and CSS. It's exciting. You're digging in. You're learning what a class is and what an ID is. So let's talk a little bit about that. Classes are the universal selector used throughout web pages. They're used most of the time, and they can be applied to multiple elements. So if you have a div element, if you have an A link, if you have a BR element, there's so many different types of HTML elements, a body element, you can add the same class. If we have class color blue, let's call it that. Class color blue, you can add class color blue to the body element, to the div element, to the A link, and to the BR element. You do all that, and then you take some CSS and you write one line of CSS for class color blue. And that one line of CSS can do something to all of those different HTML elements because they've all got that same class. It's kind of like if you have multiple students in the same class and they all have to take a test at the same time. Your CSS is like administering that test all at the same time. It's applying those things all at once to all of those students in that class. That's how classes work. An ID is different than a class. A class can be very general and apply to a lot of different stuff, a lot of different HTML elements, so that you can reference it in your CSS very simply and universally. Whereas an ID is about specificity. An ID is about specificity. And so why is that important? Why do you need specificity? Sometimes you find that you need to reference just one specific item and only one, and it needs to be only that one ever. And that happens. So there's room for IDs in that. And an ID is kind of like an ID number on your library card or your driver's license where it says, this is my number. And so that's when you would use an ID. There's debate about even using specific classes that are unique instead of IDs. And I actually subscribe more to that methodology, that ideology of really using classes like most of the time. And I really only use IDs personally if we're trying to make a link that we're referencing with some sort of a JavaScript, where there's some sort of a scrolling effect potentially on page, and you need different hashtag ID links that are there. So we use those depending on the situation, but we can get into some of those cases as we move forward. But know that classes are your bread and butter. IDs are nice. But usually you want to do a class, and even if you have a class with only one student, sometimes that's great. You just make a really specific class. And then the IDs, you probably really only want to save when you got a really special case with some JavaScript and some link clicking. You click a link and then you scroll halfway down the page to a specific section. You might want to put an ID on that section because it's easier to jump from, you can jump from ID to ID natively and easily with HTML, but with jumping from class to class is an awkward thing that you got to use JavaScript and other things on top to make it happen. So that's a whole nother can of worms. We're getting into the technical some. So buckle up. If that was way over your head, Don't worry about it, it's okay, but just, buckle up, stay along for the ride. It's a long ride, just keep going, be patient, you can do this. And congratulations for making it this far. We're gonna keep going on together and keep learning. Keep it up.